I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but here we are. My name's Jake, and I was married to Emily for about 5 years. We had what most people would call a good marriage. We didn't argue much, we had fun trips, and I genuinely thought she loved me. Hell, I even thought I knew her. But I guess I was wrong. Our anniversary trip was supposed to be a celebration. We planned it for months, booked a fancy hotel in the city, and everything was supposed to be perfect. I'd been working hard at my job, and Emily had been acting a little distant lately, but I brushed it off. Women, I thought, can get moody or busy or just need space. I didn't think much about it. Plus, she's always been the kind of woman to act a little bitchy when she's annoyed, say one thing, do another, then always lie her way out of trouble. That was just her style. The signs started small. She'd cancel dates last minute, claim she was busy, or say she was tired when I tried to get her to talk. But then I started noticing she'd be secretive, with her phone always hiding it or tossing it aside when I walked into the room. Little things really, but enough for me to feel like something was off. I didn't say anything at first. I figured I was just imagining it or overthinking because I'd been stressed at work. Then 2 days before the trip, she changed her behavior even more. She was more irritable, snapping at me over nothing, and she started going out with friends more often, saying she needed me time. I didn't like it, but I kept quiet because I wanted to keep the peace. Still, I felt that gnawing suspicion that something wasn't right. The night before we left, she was acting downright hostile, snapping at me when I asked about packing, refusing to tell me where she was going or who she was with. She said I was overreacting, that I was paranoid. That's classic Emily. She's always been a master at lying her way out of anything. Still, I tried to shake it off, tell myself I was just insecure. But deep down, I knew something was coming that I wouldn't like. We left early the next morning. I thought I was about to have a nice weekend with my wife, just us, celebrating 5 years of being together. That's what I thought was happening. I had no idea how wrong I was. I didn't realize how much betrayal I was walking into until I saw it. We checked into the hotel. Everything seemed normal at first. We went out to dinner, had some drinks, laughed a little. But then, all of a sudden, I remembered I left my phone in the car. I went to grab it, and that's when I saw the notification on our hotel Wi-Fi, an alert from the security system I'd installed at home just in case. I'd set it up a few months ago, not expecting to need it, but I did now. Curiosity got the better of me, so I pulled out my laptop, logged into the camera feed I'd set up around the house. I figured maybe I'd just check in on the dog or see if Emily was texting someone. But what I saw made my stomach drop. I saw Emily, my wife, going into our bedroom, not alone but with my best friend Mark. They were in our bed fucking. I saw her stripping her clothes off, and Mark was already halfway there. And here's the thing, this wasn't just some drunken hookup or a quick fling. They were doing it like they'd planned it. All the signs, her avoiding me, her secretive phone, the hostility, it all makes sense now. Emily was cheating on me during our anniversary trip, and she had the nerve to lie straight to my face about everything. I couldn't believe it. I felt like my world was crumbling around me. I sat there frozen, watching her moan and move beneath him. My mind was racing, trying to process how she could do this, how she could betray me so blatantly, so openly, right in our own house when I wasn't there. It was like I didn't even know her anymore. I thought I was about to cry, but instead, I clenched my fists so hard my knuckles turned white. I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew everything was about to change forever. As soon as I saw them, I felt this rush of anger and betrayal I'd never experienced before. It was like lightning hitting my chest. My mind spun. How long has this been going on? How could she do this to me, to us? I couldn't believe I had trusted her all these years. She was always the bitchy one, the one who lied about everything, but I never thought she'd cheat on me during what's supposed to be our special weekend. I stayed there, staring at the screen, watching her moan as Mark's hands roamed her body. I could see the way she was kissing him, her hands gripping his hair, and then the moment she looked right into the camera, like she knew I was watching. It was like a punch to the gut. That look she gave me, like I was just some fool she was pretending to love, made that anger boil over. I was furious, hurt, and completely shattered all at once. Suddenly my heart started pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. I didn't want to just sit there and do nothing, but I also didn't want to make a scene in the hotel. I needed a plan. My mind raced. I had to get her to admit it, or better yet, catch her in the act again. I knew she was sneaky, but I had the evidence now. I decided to wait. I sat there for what felt like forever, watching her kiss him, undress, and get ready for whatever was next. She was so confident, so sure she'd get away with it. That's Emily for you, always lying, always pretending she's the victim. But I wasn't going to be her fool anymore. I pulled out my phone, started recording the feed just in case I needed proof later. I needed to stay calm, at least for now. I knew I couldn't confront her immediately. Not yet. I had to think about what I was going to say, how I was going to handle this. I didn't want her to deny or lie her way out again. I wanted her to know I knew the truth. I didn't want to ruin our trip completely, but I also couldn't just pretend like I hadn't seen anything. While I was sitting there, a flood of emotions hit me. I felt embarrassed, humiliated. I kept asking myself how I missed all these signs, how I was stupid enough to trust her after everything. And then there was pure rage. How dare she cheat on me, especially with my best friend, the person who's supposed to be there for me, who I thought I could count on. That betrayal cut deep. I knew I needed to get out of there, to leave her with her secret and figure out my next move. But part of me was also planning, waiting for the right moment. I wanted to catch her again, to see if she was going to do something else so I could have a rock-solid reason to confront her. I wasn't going to let her just lie her way out of this. She made her bed, and now she was going to have to face the consequences. That night, lying in the hotel bed, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying everything I'd seen, trying to make sense of it. I felt sick, betrayed, and honestly, so damn hurt I didn't know what to do. I thought about the years we'd shared, the good moments, and how I'd been blind to her true nature. I kept asking myself if I could even trust her again, or if this was the end of us. But one thing was clear. My world had just shattered, and I was left standing in the rubble, trying to figure out what came next. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My head was pounding, my stomach was in knots, and I kept going over what I'd seen the night before. I couldn't get that image out of my mind. The way Emily was so into him, so confident, so completely oblivious to the fact that I knew everything. That was the moment I realized I couldn't just pretend like nothing had happened, like I hadn't seen her in bed with Mark, cheating on me during what was supposed to be our anniversary. I stayed in bed for a while, pretending to sleep, but honestly I was just gathering my thoughts. I knew I had to confront her, but I wanted to do it on my terms. I didn't want her to deny it, to lie her way out again. I needed to be ready, so I took a deep breath and decided to wait until she left the room, then I'd go through her things. I had to find out if there was any other evidence, hidden messages, receipts, anything that could confirm what I'd already seen. When she finally got up, she looked at me with that fake smile she always used when she was trying to hide something. "Good morning," she said, her tone sweet but fake. I just nodded, didn't say a word. I watched as she grabbed her phone and started scrolling, acting normal, too normal, like she wasn't hiding a damn thing. That's when I knew I had to act fast. While she was in the bathroom, I quietly slipped into our bedroom, opened her purse, and started digging. I found her phone in her makeup bag, which she'd left on the nightstand. I didn't bother asking for permission, I just went through it. And what I found made my blood run cold. Text messages, sneaky photos, even a few from Mark, talking about their plans, their secret meetings. There were even a couple of "I love you" texts, which made me want to throw up. I saw enough to know that this wasn't just a one-time thing. They'd been doing this for a while. I took screenshots of everything. My hands were trembling, but I knew I needed this proof. I couldn't confront her without it. I carefully put everything back, trying to act normal, and then waited for her to come out. When she finally did, she looked at me, eyes narrowing like she knew I'd been snooping. "What are you doing?" she asked, feigning innocence. "Just looking for my keys," I lied, acting like I didn't know, but inside I was boiling. I felt like the biggest fool on earth for trusting her even a little. All those moments of supposed love, the anniversaries, the trips, the late-night talks, all of it was just a lie. She'd been screwing around with my best friend behind my back, and I had the proof now. I didn't say much. I just looked at her and said, "You're not the person I thought you were, Emily." Her face twisted, that bitchy smirk coming back. "Oh, come on, Jake, you're overreacting, you don't know what you're talking about." But I did. I knew exactly what was happening. I knew she'd been lying to me for months, maybe longer. That's when she threw her hands up, acting all innocent. "You're crazy, you're jealous, stressed, and you're just imagining things. Mark is just a friend. You're always so paranoid about everything. Maybe you're the one with the problem, not me." Her words were dripping with bullshit, but I could see her desperation behind the lies. She was trying to cover her ass. That moment I realized I was done. Done with her lies, her bullshit, and her manipulation. I knew I had to make a choice, whether to call her out right then and there or to do something more drastic. I looked at the screenshots on my phone, took a deep breath, and decided I'd had enough of her lying. I told her I knew everything and that I was done pretending I was okay with her cheating on me. She didn't seem to realize how serious I was. She kept insisting I was wrong, that I was overreacting, that Mark was just a friend. But I wasn't buying it anymore. That's when I told her I was going to leave, that I wanted her to pack her things and get out. She tried to argue, but I cut her off. I told her I'd had enough of her lies, her manipulations, and her betrayal. I packed a bag and left the hotel that day, feeling like I was walking out of my life. As I drove home, I kept thinking about everything, about how I'd trusted her, how she'd lied to my face. I felt empty, like I'd lost a part of myself. But at the same time, I felt a strange sense of relief, like maybe now I could finally start to heal, to move on from the woman who had turned out to be so much less than I thought she was. Getting back home felt surreal. The house was quiet, almost too quiet. Every corner, every room reminded me of the life we had built together, one I now questioned whether it was real at all. I stayed in the car for a few minutes before going inside, trying to gather my thoughts. I'd already decided what I'd do, but it still hurt like hell knowing everything was broken beyond repair. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time face to face. I didn't want to just leave things hanging with accusations. I needed her to admit everything, to see her ugliness in the flesh. So I waited until she finally came home from wherever she'd been, probably with Mark, probably feeling smug about her little secret. She looked surprised to see me, her eyes darting around, trying to gauge my mood. "Where the hell have you been?" she snapped, trying to sound casual, but I could see the flicker of panic in her eyes. "I've been out," I said coldly. "We need to talk." Her face twisted with that fake smirk again. "Oh great, what now? You're overreacting, Jake. You always do this," she said, trying to brush it off. But I wasn't in the mood to play her game anymore. "No, Emily, you lied to me. You cheated on me. I saw the proof last night. And you're still lying about it," I shot back. That's when she finally cracked. Her face reddened, her eyes flashed with anger. "You're crazy. You're paranoid. Mark's just a friend, for God's sake. You're making a mountain out of a molehill again." I pulled out my phone, showing her the screenshots I'd taken, her messages, the photos, everything. Her eyes widened for a second, then she just shrugged it off like it meant nothing. "That's all fake. Someone must have hacked into my phone," she said, her voice trembling now. "Don't give me that bullshit," I said, voice rising. "You think I'm stupid. I saw what I saw. You're cheating on me." During our anniversary trip with my best friend. Her face twisted into something ugly, anger, frustration, maybe a little panic. "You don't know what you're talking about. I never cheated. Mark's just been there for me, okay? We've been talking, just talking. And you're accusing me of this because you're insecure, because you're paranoid." I stared at her, incredulous. "Insecure? Paranoid? Emily, I caught you in bed with him. I saw your face. I saw what you were doing. How can you sit there and lie to my face like that?" She crossed her arms, trying to look defiant, but I could see her trembling. "You're just jealous, that's all. You're overreacting because you're insecure. Mark's a good guy. We're just friends." That was the moment I realized she'd just justified everything. Her lies, her betrayal, they were just excuses to cover her ass. I felt a rage I'd never known before. I didn't want to hear her bullshit anymore. I was done. I told her to pack her shit and get out, that I didn't want to see her face again. She argued, of course. She called me crazy, said I was overreacting, accused me of being controlling. But I didn't care. I'd already made up my mind. I wanted her gone, and I wanted her to know that she'd lost everything. While she was packing, I sat on the couch, staring at the door. I felt numb. The betrayal cut so deep, I didn't think I'd ever recover from it. I kept replaying the images from that night, the way she looked with him, the way she lied to my face. It was like a punch to the stomach every time I thought about it. When she finally left, I felt a strange mixture of relief and sadness. The house felt emptier than ever. I thought about all the time we spent together, all the memories we shared, and how they'd been tainted by her lies. I knew I could never trust her again. That part of me was broken now, irreparably. I stayed up that night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'd let myself get so blind, how I'd ignored the signs, convinced myself she loved me. Turns out she was just good at hiding her true self. That realization stung worse than anything else. It made me question everything about my life, about love, about trust, but I also knew one thing for sure: I was done. Done with her lies, her manipulations, and her betrayal. I'd never let someone do that to me again. I'd been naive, but now I was starting to see things clearly. The pain was real, but so was my resolve. I'd rebuild somehow. I had to. The days that followed were the hardest I've ever gone through. The house was too quiet, too empty. Every little thing reminded me of her. The way she used to leave her perfume on my pillow, her laugh echoing in the hallway, even her favorite coffee mug sitting untouched in the sink. It all felt like a cruel joke now. I couldn't look at any of it without feeling that sharp pang of betrayal. I spent hours just staring at my phone, trying to decide what to do next. Part of me wanted to call her, yell at her, scream at her for being the bitch she always was. But I knew that wouldn't change anything. The other part just wanted to forget her completely, erase her from my life. I kept telling myself I'd move on, but honestly, I was just trying to survive. Each day, I also knew I had to tell someone. I couldn't keep this inside forever, so I reached out to my brother Mike, who's always been the more level-headed one. I told him everything about how I caught her cheating, how I found all that proof, how she lied and manipulated her way out of it. His response was simple but brutal. "Bro, she's a cheating bitch. You deserve better. Don't let her ruin your life." It was the kind of harsh truth I needed. But even with his support, I kept asking myself if I should try to salvage the marriage or just cut her out completely. Part of me still wanted to believe she'd change, that maybe she was just a selfish, broken woman who made a terrible mistake. But deep down, I knew better. She lied to me so many times I'd lost count. And this was just the final nail in the coffin. One day, I found myself at a crossroads. I was tired of feeling this pain, this emptiness. I decided I needed closure, something I'd never fully get if I just let her walk away. So I reached out to Mark, my so-called best, and the guy who'd betrayed me. I texted him and asked him to meet up. I needed to hear it from him, to confront him face to face. When he showed up at my place, he looked nervous, like he knew this wasn't going to be pretty. I didn't bother beating around the bush. I told him I knew everything, that he'd been sleeping with my wife, that I'd seen it with my own eyes. His eyes dropped to the ground and he muttered some bullshit about how it just happened, how they weren't serious, how it's just sex. I exploded. "Just sex? Is that what you call it? You're supposed to be my best friend, Mark. You're supposed to have my back. Instead, you're screwing my wife behind my back, lying to my face and making a total mockery of everything we ever had." He looked guilty but also defensive. "It wasn't like that, Jake. We didn't plan for this. It just happened. She's not the person you think she is." That's when I lost it. I told him I didn't care what he thought, that they both were selfish, fake, and disgusting. I told him I never wanted to see his face again. After that, I told myself I was done with both of them. Done with the lies, the fake love, the betrayal. I knew I had to start rebuilding my life, even if it meant doing it alone. I took the pictures I'd saved, the evidence of her cheating, and deleted her number from my phone. I cut her out of my life completely. But even as I made those decisions, I couldn't help but feel this gnawing emptiness inside. I'd trusted her, loved her, and she turned around and stomped all over that trust. I kept asking myself why someone I loved, someone I thought loved me, would do something so cruel. It was like I'd been sucker punched from every side. Still, I told myself it was better this way. Better to know the truth than live in a lie. Better to be alone than with someone who didn't respect me enough to be honest. I knew I'd get through it someday. Maybe it would take years, maybe longer, but I'd find a way to move on. The thing I've learned from all this is that trust is fragile and some people will betray you in ways you never expected. I also learned to listen to my gut, because ignoring those little signs only makes the fall harder when it finally hits. Most of all, I realized that revenge isn't really about hurting others. It's about finally standing up for yourself and not letting someone else destroy your happiness. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'll never let someone cheat on me again, never let myself be blind to the signs of deception. And if I could give any advice to someone in a similar situation, it's this: know your worth, trust yourself, and don't be afraid to walk away from what's toxic. Because at the end of the day, the only person who truly matters is you. Looking back now, I realize that this whole experience changed me in ways I never expected. I used to think that love and trust were everything, that if you found the right person, nothing could break you. But I've learned that some people are just liars, manipulative, and selfish. They're good at hiding who they really are until it's too late. Emily was one of those people. She played her game, lied her way through what should have been our happiest moments, and in the end, she tore everything apart. There's a strange kind of clarity that comes with betrayal like this. It's a wake-up call. Your eyes get wide, your mind clears, and suddenly you see the world differently. I've come to accept that I'll never fully forget what I saw, what I felt, but I can learn from it. I can become stronger, smarter, more cautious about who I trust. I don't want to carry this hurt forever, but I know it'll stay with me, like scars that remind me of what I survived. Since then, I've done a lot of soul searching. I've gone to therapy, talked to friends, and even started going to the gym to rebuild my confidence. I've also started focusing on myself, picking up hobbies I let fall by the wayside when I was with her. I've reconnected with old friends, and I've learned that being alone isn't the worst thing in the world. Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it's what saves you. I've realized that the biggest lesson I can take from this is that I'm stronger than I thought. I survived the shock, the heartbreak, the betrayal. I didn't crumble. I didn't let her win. Instead, I'm here, still standing, still fighting to rebuild what's broken. And honestly, part of me feels a little relief, like I finally got a glimpse of the truth and I'm better for it. If I could say anything to someone going through something similar, it's this: don't let the betrayal define you. It hurts, sure, but it also teaches you who you really are. Trust your instincts and never let anyone make you feel less than you deserve. Because one day you'll look back and see that this pain was just a chapter, not the end of your story. And from that pain, you'll grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. I don't know what's next for me, but I do know I'll keep moving forward. I'll find happiness again. Maybe not the same kind I thought I had with her, but something real, something worth fighting for. And I'll never forget what I learned, that the only person you can truly count on is yourself.